Welcome to the BAM Pod. All right, welcome in everybody to the BAM Pod. I'm your host, Big Ed, and on the line tonight I have a gentleman that is from Pasco, Washington. He went to Simpson University. Then he went to Dallas Baptist University. He fished on the MLF College Series, the Bassmaster College Series, came back to California, went over to Don Pedro, took a second place. His name, that's right, you all know it by now, Ty Manterola. That's right, Ty, welcome in, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Yeah, it's been a fun beginning to the season over here.
You have come out, and people are going to say, where did this guy come from? Well, I just told you where he came from, and we're going to talk to him a little bit tonight about where he's coming from and where he's going to go. And, he's 22 years old. He's one of our young guns on the tour. He went out there, took second place behind who we were just kind of talking about a little bit, some guy named Greg Gutierrez. Double G goes out there, does his thing every time, and now he's out here. But we got the young guys coming up. Greg and I had our show last time. We were talking about the young guys coming up. This is absolutely going to be one of them. There's some wonderful guys coming out. There are some great anglers out there waiting in the wings. And I'll tell you what, this whole college issue, with the Simpson University, we've got Sac State. There are colleges out there now that are just really embracing, bass fishing. And Ty, that's one of the things that I really wanted to have you on the show and talk about, a little bit. You being so, I don't want to say, it's not like you're a 12-year-old, but you're 22 years old. It's very young to be in this sport. I'm not going to tell everybody how old Greg is, but he's definitely told me that the youth coming up is what he's so excited about, and we've talked about that. You just had your first kid at 22 years old, man. Your future in this industry is looking really good right now. How does that, how is this whole thing kind of working out? It's I guess the best question is, when you were back in Dallas, you were back, fishing for Simpson, you fished for Dallas, you went back there, and the whole dream had to be Bassmaster, had to be MLF. Now you're back, you're in Pasco, Washington. There's a West Coast circuit now. And this is one of the things that we really want to talk about, is what kind of opportunity does the youth of our sport really have? And what made you change your mind and say, hey, I can make it here and I don't have to travel all the way back east?
Well, yeah. So for me, my whole kind of game plan going into college was go to Simpson University, get some experience on the West Coast, still be decently close to home. I'm from Tri-Cities, Washington, so I'm only about 9-10 hours from there in Reading where Simpson was. And so, yeah, I did that for 2 years, and I transferred, and I wanted to get some experience back east on the major tournament lakes. And my plan actually was to, get through college and go to the Bassmaster Opens and try to get my way into the big leagues that way. And as God's plan always works out, and ended up my girlfriend and I did long distance while I was down there in Texas. She's a hometown girl here in Tri-Cities, Washington, and we were actually planning on moving down there together while I went and chased the Opens. Found out that we're going to be starting a family, and pretty much right as we found that out, the announcement about the Super 60 tour came out, and it's just it's an amazing thing how stuff works out like that, because I couldn't be happier with where I'm at. Obviously, BAM, Bass Angler Magazine, is a media company first, and that's what really intrigued me, because anybody in this industry knows that's what drives the dollars in the sport, and that's what drives people to be able to make a living, is the media behind it, the influential side we have on customers and consumers in the industry. That's what really gets sponsors and people in the industry intrigued on our weight in the industry, is not just a tournament result, but you got to also be able to sell stuff, right? And winning sells, obviously, but personality sells too. And if you have no avenue to kind of get that out there, there's really no way that you can make it in the sport. And with Bass Angler Magazine, having a huge media following, it all just lined up great. And I can't wait for what the future plans of BAM are and everything that they've got going. And the fact that they get so much traffic online, it just really gives us a great platform to grow our own, ourselves, pro sponsors and our own brands. but also, grow BAM as a whole and as a community, because the West Coast community we're some of the best fishermen in the world, in my opinion, some of the most well-rounded anglers out here, and also just have a great passion for the sport. And we finally have a platform where we can reach enough people to actually create a living off of that.
Wow, I don't think I could have heard anybody else say that any better, man. Great job right there.
I
That's
appreciate it.
it's so well said, because that's truly what we have to do out here. Um, you know as well as I do that West Coast is like just not alive and well when it comes to bass fishing. But what you just said in there that I truly loved is, you have to drive the business. You have to build it up. And I don't care if you're a first baseman for the Giants. If you don't have the advertising dollars behind you, you don't get paid. I mean, because you can fill the seats every day, and you're not going to make enough money to actually, they're not going to make enough money to pay them the multi-billion-dollar contracts they get. They have to have big sponsorship dollars behind them, and that's what we really need out here on the West Coast, is those big sponsorship dollars to come in, and find out that there's so much here that people can have a family, people can have a life, people can have that on the West Coast and not have to drive all the way across the country and fish the traditional lakes that everybody's kind of used to hearing about back there. It's amazing out here. I think what we have, and nobody knows about it. I think and I'm going to ask you about this one, because I know you're probably really excited to go up to this potholes thing. I've never seen it. I know that you said the Columbia River is your home water, but have you been out to the potholes yet?
Yeah, yeah. So I would consider that my second-ish home lake.
Uh-oh.
Like Potholes and Moses Lake are like, about an hour, hour and a half from me, and then the river's, 15 minutes away. So I would consider them my secondary home lakes. And but the weird thing about it, Ed, honestly, is like I've caught them better wherever I'm at college than I do at home, because I'm only home 2 months out of the year for the last 4 years.
Yeah, I'll
So
bet.
so I'll get back, and I haven't seen the lake in almost a year, and then I pull up to a tournament, get my teeth kicked in, and everybody's like, "Oh, you can't even catch them on your home lake." It's like, it ain't really my home lake. I mean, so it's interesting. So it's nice, being back here permanently now. I'm going to be able to kind of try to really dial in these local areas and try to
Yeah.
get, my advantage up here. That because like going to Pedro like we did, I'd never seen that place, and I go to McClure a couple days before the tournament to try to just get a clue on what's even. I've never fished a lake in the Motherlode region, so I'm just like
Right.
trying to see like what it's even about. And Jake Arbuckle's at the ramp, super nice guy. Met him there. We start, talking, just kind of meeting each other, or whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, no, but this is my home body of water, and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Gosh, dang, I'm really like." It's intimidating, because we get no practice, which I love. I think it's super cool
Yeah.
format in the Super 60 that we don't get any practice. But when you've never seen a place before, it really makes every decision become that much more, needs to be quicker and more efficient, and you need to break down stuff so much faster because these guys are just so good. And you know, now that I'm home, I can, like the other day I pre-practice Boardman. They're
Right.
almost spawning right now, and I was in the middle of the river graphing all day because the tournament's in July or August. So it's like I'm gonna try to build that competitive advantage when I can, because I know most of these lakes we're going to, these other guys have experience on that I just don't.
Yeah. Well, and that's like you talk about that, and we talked a little bit before the show. Mojave coming up next. We're a week and a half out from Mojave being May 1st, I guess it is, and that's one of those lakes that there are guys that live right there. Cameron Carver's down there. There's there's just so many great anglers down there. And the one thing you just said, they don't get to practice on it. Marty Lawrence lives, I think he said 20 minutes from there or something like that. So you think this guy's going to have a competitive edge, but with the off limits, man, it really levels the field for guys who are going down there a long ways. This is I think the beauty of what it is. The other side of that is how do you like the format, the hey, on one side you can make it in on keeper count, one side you have to make it in on weight. Has that been something that you've like fully embraced now and gone, yeah, I dig that? Or is it like, I don't know?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I think it's the coolest thing that somebody's came out with in bass fishing in a long time. Mainly because there's two reasons I love it. One, an angler can always be engaged no matter what. You can have a terrible day one. You can blank day one, right? And you're obviously not going to make it in on weight unless you make a miracle happen, right? But if you stumble upon a school of 14 inchers, you still got something to fish for, right? And even if
Right.
it's that's not making the top 10, that's still making a check, right? So you can go in, even if you have a terrible day one or your boat motor breaks down or whatever it might be, you still have something to fish for, and you still have an opportunity to make a decent tournament out of it. So every angler has something they're pushing for. You can make up points. There's just, with the two aspects of it, that part's really cool. And the strategy side of it for me, like
Right.
I think I was in like 12th or 13th on weight after day two at Don Pedro, and like 20th or 22nd, something like that, for keeper count. And so I went into the next day thinking like, probably should go for weight, might probably have to swing if I'm going to make the top 10. And in the morning, I figured out a deal that I could just catch a boatload of them. And I had like 11 keepers in the first 45 minutes. And I'm like, okay, my whole strategy changed. Whole strategy changed. I quit. I ignored the big ones. I'd see big ones on my screen, whatever. And I wouldn't even, they're going to take too long. Let me catch as many 2 to 3 pounders as I can, because I got a shot to get on keeper count now. But that strategy where you're constantly changing, you got to adjust as an angler. I think it really just, it's going to bring the cream to the crop to the top more often than not, because you're not, it adds just another element, another strategy behind it. And the third thing is the fact that the weight's just reset and it's a 5-fish shootout on the final day. Like
Yeah.
you look at the last Elite Series event on the Pasquotank, or however you say it, Cal Welcher's leading by 30, 40 pounds after day two. Everybody
Yeah.
knows he's going to win it. Okeechobee, every knew Polinick was going to win it. And that's not discrediting those wins for those guys. I mean, those are dominant
No.
wins. That's awesome. But as a fan of the sport, you're like, I don't even need to watch Wayne. I know he's going to win. But
Right.
when you just have a five fish shootout, weights are zeroed, line them up, everybody's got the same shot, and go figure it out and go beat the guy next to you. I think that really, from a fan's perspective and from a television and media perspective, I think that format just adds such a cool element to what we're doing.
I agree completely. It's one of those things that I look at, and for me, it's it is exactly what you said. It is more intriguing to be able to watch. Okay, it's zero. We're down to the top 10. Get out there, show us what you got. And did you plan it right or not? Did you did your strategy work? It's like, I had to save some fish, or I had to do this, or I had to stop doing that. And I think that right there just shows you how good the anglers are, and the fact that they can't just rest on their laurels. It's like, and like you said, it's not taking away from those guys who won with 36 pounds, and it's, they're 25 pounds ahead of everybody else. It's like, yeah, I get it, and that's a great day, and you did really well, and but it loses the interest for me. I don't care. I know he's won. Why do I watch day 3? On this one, I watched day 3. I mean, I get to watch it from the
Yeah,
stage, but
exactly. You have
I'm
absolutely,
interested
it's
to watch
anybody's
it.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's anybody's game. Like and like the interesting thing about it too is it's all strategy. Like I listened to Greg's podcast with you. He's
Mm-hmm.
talking about how he caught some bucks that were around 3 pounds that would have helped his bag. He threw them back and saved them. He didn't end up going to them, but that strategy behind it, because he knew he was in on
Right.
keeper count. Myself, like I found some big fish in trees and stuff that I could have taken an hour and maybe possibly caught them, but I saved them. It ended up blowing 80 on the final day, so I couldn't even fish for them. But there's that strategy behind it. I would find big ones and I would mark them for just in case I made the next day, and I'd move on to some fish that were quicker to bite, because in the situation I was in. Now in the next tournament, I might be way better on weight, and I'll just fish for 5 bites. It's all situational, and it's a mind game. And I love the critical thinking behind the sport. I love strategizing. I love that. That's what I love about it. I love poker. So like this, I love poker. I love gambling, and I love fishing. I love strategy. So this just adds another element of strategy to an already insanely strategic sport. And I just love it. It just really makes you think, and it really makes you kind of lay out your day differently based on what you're thrown at, and you have to be able to adjust on the fly.
Take the plunge and jump into new favorites at Black Bear Diner. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we've got you covered.
Good old-fashioned family food, Black Bear Diner.
Discover Plumas County, where adventure meets tranquility. Nestled in the heart of nature, Plumas County offers endless activities for everyone. Dive into the clear waters of Lake Almanor for wakeboarding thrills and fishing excitement. Whether you're an adrenaline junkie or a fishing enthusiast, Lake Almanor has something for you. Stroll through charming local boutiques and indulge in fine dining experiences that will tantalize your taste buds. From unique shops and gourmet restaurants, Plumas County is a haven for those who love to explore and savor. Immerse yourself in lush forests of pine and fir trees, perfect for camping, hiking, and biking. And don't miss the breathtaking Lassen Volcanic National Park, where you can witness the power and beauty of nature up close. Footloose in Plumas County, your ultimate escape for adventure, relaxation, and unforgettable memories. Visit Plumas County today. Oh yeah, this is, like I said, I always enjoy coming down to that day, and it's one of those. I've watched some really good anglers, and I hate to always bring Zach up on this one, but he's the one for me that's been like the poster child of, he gets there, makes it. He had a heck of a lead going into Mojave, or not Mojave, into the Colorado River, and he's down there.
Oh, Martinez?
And yeah, and Lake Martinez, yeah, and Zach's just lead. He's got a big weight lead. I mean, he's just got, and it zeroes out, and he can't quite get it. His strategy just didn't work out enough for him, and it's like, oh man, that's because I've grown up with Zach, and he fishing with him for years, and it's like, dang it, man, it was right there, and
Yeah.
Colby takes it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing though. It's such a mind game because the
Right.
weight is the hardest one really, because it's like, how much fish can I burn, or do I have to burn, and how many can I save?
Right.
Because you if you want to save fish, but then you have 11 pounds and you think you need about 14, and then next thing you know it's 1 o'clock and you're like, oh dang, like, so it's hard. It's a hard deal, and it's a judgment call based on your day. But like I did, like, for me personally, it just set me up good, because when I just committed to keeper count after the first hour on the second day, I just knew what I was going to do. That's what I was committing to. I put all my big stuff away, all the big glide baits, all the big soft baits, everything went in the box, and I just went for bites. I just got as many bites as I could throughout the day, but I still am strategically looking, okay, there's a 5-pounder in that tree, mark him. There's a 3-pounder on bed right here, mark him. But we're ignoring them because they aren't going to be as valuable to us. Now, if we make it into the final day,
Right.
then we have those fish saved. And just like Greg said, he took a picture of those 3-pounders on his board. They would have cold, didn't matter. He knew he was in on keeper count. He dominated keeper count the first day, and threw him back. So yeah, his bag looked a little worse, but he was strategically doing that. And interestingly enough, Greg got first and I got second. We both got in on keeper count, but we had the biggest 2 weights on the final day.
Yeah.
So it's all a mind game, man. It's all a strategy game, and I just love it. I love bass fishing, and this format just makes it so much fun. So cool.
Well, I love hearing that, especially out of a 22-year-old guy. It's one of those things that the future of our sport is looking so good, and now that we have the BAM, Super 60, it's out here. I don't think it's going to stay the Super 60, honestly. I think eventually it's going to have to be 80, 90, 100 boats, because there are so many people that are just falling in for it. They're coming in and going, man, this is going to be cool. This is going to be good. And I don't think Mark's going to be able to keep the 60 count down, I mean, we're already at 69, right? So it's like we're still in the 60s,
we didn't even make
technically.
it happen.
But, a second event and we're 69, or going into it, and, 69, and it's like, it's going to be there. But, now we got Mojave coming up. When you have to drive as far as you have to drive, and you're going down there and you're just going to be able to see this, like, how do you prepare at all for an event like that when you're that far? You talked about, I get to go out to Boardman and I graphed and I did this fishing for this and I fishing for that. Now that's, and that's your backyard. What do you do for Mojave? I mean, you're not close at all. This is going to be, what is it, 20 something hours for you?
No, it's only like 14. I say only 14, but
only 14. Oh, okay, sorry.
which really 14. I mean, I was driving back and forth from Eastern Washington to back east all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I drove when I went to school at Simpson, we drove from Redding, California to the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes.
Wow.
For a national championship. I mean, I'm used to the driving. That ain't an issue. Now, the no practice thing, that's what really, it's weird because like like my first cast on Don Pedro of my life was with 50 grand on the line. So like you just got to control what you can control, man. I mean, Google Earth, mapping apps, looking at my graphs, just a lot of map study. And what I, even on a lake that I do get practice for, what I try to do is control what I can control and do as much map study as I possibly can and have everything that I can find with the resources I have found. Don't leave any questions out there. So like Don Pedro, even though 99% of the stuff I marked, on either Google or mapping, whatever, didn't play, I had, so say I was catching them on rock piles inside of secondary points on south facing pockets.
Okay.
Say that's just the crazy pattern that I found. Well, the good thing is I spent 25 hours on Google Earth and have 100 more of them marked. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you don't do that map study, you don't do that preparation, when you do figure out the pattern in the tournament, at the lake, when you get there during the tournament, you'll figure something out. And it's like, well, I don't know where the next one is. I don't know how I can run this pattern. I've never seen the lake in my life. That's where the local guys have a little bit of an advantage, because once they do figure out a pattern, they know places they can duplicate it. Right.
Right.
So what I'm trying to do is control what I can control. Obviously you're not going to be able to find everything just with map studying and Google Earth, but the pattern I got on Don Pedro, I had done enough map study that I had similar stuff marked, and I was able to run that, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes complete sense. And it's honestly a question I was going to ask is, what are you looking for, when you're doing the map study? And you just, laid it right out there. So if everybody, is looking for what to look for, that's what you look for, is just go on there and just find as much information as you really can on that. And, and that way, like you said, when you got there, you had, hey, I found them on this. Oh, you know what? I have 17 of those marked. I have 17 other ones of those marked for map study, and I'm ready to go, and I can get there. And I think that's one of the things.
And you can base it off the time of year. You can kind of try to get a gauge of like, okay, this should be somewhat of a deal going on there. It's going to be around the spawn, so obviously south facing pockets, stuff like that. But you never really know. But if you just mark everything, I marked every tree line, every rock pile, every point, every channel swing. I think I had 1,270 waypoints marked on Google Earth on Don Pedro before I went to that event. So no matter what the pattern ended up being, I had them all marked in detail to where I could look at my map and go, okay, I just caught them, on a channel swing towards the back of a pocket, the last channel swing in the back of a creek. Okay. Well, 50 more of them. Let's go run the pattern. You know what I mean? So that's the controlling what you can control.
Yeah.
And that's when on a place you've never seen, that's just what you have to do, man. You just have to put the time in and the work in to at least understand it as well as you can before you get there. YouTube videos, everything like that, just any public information you can get a hold of. Just try to just know the lake as well as you can without ever seeing it, and then try to put the pieces together in the tournament.
As you are, how do I say this? You're on the West Coast now, you're doing all this fishing, you're seeing these new bodies of water. How does this really compare to being back east? What is, with the fishing, and I shouldn't say back east, because there's a lot of back there, but down south is where basically most of the real trails is down south, and maybe up to New York for the, Champlain and things like that. But now that you fished you fished both sides, you fished the East Coast, you fished the West Coast. My guess is that you like the West Coast better because you're still here. But how is it different? When you talk about you fish this or you fish that, what is the main thing that you just go, it's so different doing this when you're back there, or different doing this here?
In general, on the West Coast, fish are a lot less nomadic. No, the spots are kind of the spotted bass are kind of an outlier, but
Right.
as far as the largemouth and smallmouth, the fish are a lot less nomadic, and I would say most of the time a lot less bait fish oriented and a lot more bottom oriented. Now,
Okay.
I say that, and 90% of the fish I weighed in on Don Pedro were suspended in the middle of the freaking lake on bait. But that I think it's just the shad populations and the bait fish populations down south.
Yeah.
Those fish are more structure related in general on the West Coast. Like on potholes, actually, for example, those fish hardly ever suspend, and they do sometimes,
Right.
but like there's very specific times here that they do that. Most of the time, those fish are glued to the bottom. Shasta, stuff like that. Fish suspend a lot, but those largemouth normally aren't suspended. They're on the bottom looking for a trout or whatever. And they're, related to rock. They're related to points. They're related to hard spots, stuff like that, where there's a lot more nomadic fish in the South, if that makes sense.
Okay.
They just roam a lot more, I feel like. Not every lake on the West Coast. Like, I don't care what lake you go to in the South. You can go under any shad ball in that lake and find predatory fish, whether that's bass, white bass, stripers, whatever,
Right.
and find predatory fish in and around those bait balls. But on the West, sometimes it just seems like more often than on the South, they're more bottom related. It's actually harder. It's easier to make a fish bite on live scope in the West because they're less pressured, but it's harder to find them in the West than the South, if that makes sense, because they're so glued to cover and structure and the bottom. And like Washington fish and like northern largemouth, I guess if you will, they just live shallow. They like, they get out deep certain times of year and stuff, but they just naturally live more shallow because we don't have shad in our lakes.
Okay.
We don't have, those type of bait fish. We have perch and bluegill, and we have the water doesn't get 95 degrees, so the fish just are way different. And it's kind of throwing me for a loop. I'm not going to lie, because I've learned so much in the South, and trying to translate it back and forth. Don't get me wrong. A lot of stuff does translate, but it's just the West Coast is way different. And that's why you see a lot of the West Coast guys do really well when they do head back east, is because they find these crazy techniques for these goofy fish, I'll say, compared to the rest of the country. And then they apply that to these pressured fish in the South that have seen 1,000 wobbleheads. They've seen 1,000 Carolina rigs. They've seen 1,000 minnows now. They've seen all these things. And then you got Greg pulling up with a freaking dart head tube and just wailing on them because they've never seen it before. So I think that's why most of the finesse-ish presentations, just with our clear water on the West Coast and how the fish are just different. They just act. They're a lot more specific, I guess I would say, than in the South.
Yeah, I think that's why I give a lot of credit to guys like Ish Monroe, Ostrander, those guys that are fishing back there and fishing here. It's like you have to change your game. Like, I know they're both from here, but they have to go back there, fish those circuits, and then come back out here and fish out here. And it's like, wow, a lot of the guys that I've talked to back there tell me it's color. Like, color change is big back there. Like, there's like two colors you basically fish back there. And then here it's like, oh no, there's a plethora. You need to have all kinds of different things, all different kinds of colors. Some of them make sense, some of them don't, but it's one of those things that I feel like that, and the amount of grass and the shallowness. I think the lakes, here you go to Shasta and you're fishing, you're fishing over, 400 feet of water. So do fish, suspend over that, and then you go back there. And a lot of the guys that I've talked to, they talk about, ledge fishing, and you gotta go find those ledges. And I go, what's a ledge? And it's a 3-foot variable or a 4-foot variable. It's like, oh, okay, so it goes from 10 feet to 25 feet.
What the flock are you waiting for? California's newest luxury entertainment destination, Chicken Ranch Casino Resort, is ready to play. Experience laid-back luxury in our modern hotel, a casino floor with views of the Sierra, and diverse restaurants and bars that'll keep you squawking for more. Experience the all-new Chicken Ranch Casino Resort, located just 60 minutes from Yosemite National Park. Visit playchickenranch.com to book your trip today.
It's like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
It's just so, they're a lot flatter lakes, bowl lakes, which might be why they roam a lot more too. I really don't know. The fish they're just different. It's just different. It's hard to explain. But the West Coast helped me when I went back east. I do not regret how I did it, going to 2 years at Simpson, learning the West Coast. Because before I went to college, I fished my first bass tournament. My first time ever being in a bass boat was 5 years ago. And it was, I just jumped in a high school tournament with a buddy that I used to fish ponds with. I played a lot of basketball in high school, and our tournament got canceled or something. And he was like, "Hey, there's this tournament on the river, it's a high school tournament. Do you want to go fish it?" And I loved fishing, but it was just a passion hobby. I didn't even really know much about tournament fishing. I watched all this stuff, but I never got involved in it. And I was like, yeah, why not? And ended up winning the thing, and the bug got me, right? And, but before then, all I had ever fished was Washington State. And then I went to La Crosse, Wisconsin, the Mississippi River for a high school national championship. Before I got to college, those were the only 2 states I had ever fished in my life for bass.
Wow.
I went down to Florida one time and fished shiners with a guide when I was like 9. But yeah, that's it. So it was just such a learning curve. And so I was able to get a taste of everything. And some of the techniques that I learned on the West Coast, I went to college with, a California stick, another young guy, Nathan Phillips, went to school with him, Taj White, Ryan Beatty, James Hawkinson, all these guys that I learned so much from them, and we kind of bounced ideas off each other, and we learned all this stuff fishing on Clear Lake, fishing on Shasta. And I would take those techniques that would just make those super finicky fish bite, and I would apply them to the southern lakes, and it helped me get a lot of my good finishes in the college series. There's a special swim bait in California. I'm not going to name the name of it, but there's a special swim bait on Clear Lake that we figured out a few years ago, and I threw that on Rayburn in September and had a great finish on that. I threw it in a Athens little open deal. Me and my buddy won the most money I've ever won in a bass tournament on that bait that I learned on Clear Lake on those super pressured fish, up north in Lakeport. So it's just, it's so crazy how it's so different, but both sides of it kind of can mesh in the right situations, I guess.
Yeah. And now, now you come back here, you don't have to go very far. Now, don't get me wrong. $50,000 is a game changer for a lot of people. That will be, that is going to be something, for a while, that's going to be big money out here. And it is big money everywhere, honestly. But $50,000 at an entry fee that's not that far, that's not that large, it's not like you're paying.
And in a 69 boat field, not a 300 boat field.
Exactly. You're here, and now you have to travel 14 hours. You have to travel 15 hours. You have to travel 12 hours. You have to travel 20 minutes, that sort of thing to be home. And you can be home. You have a new, you have a new kid on the way. You have a family, or you have a new, I don't want to say on the way anymore. It's here.
She's here. She's all the way here.
She's all the way here. And it's one of those things, you've got a family now, and picking up, traveling back east, trying to make a living, a career out of this sport that you started off with it just as a hobby. And now you're 5 years later, you're doing this as a career. Do you do something else for money, or is this all you do?
Yeah. So I started my own custom haystacking business. So my family farms.
Oh, okay.
So my dad started a hay farm before I was born, whatever, and I grew up working on the farm, and then I kind of branched off and started doing my own thing a little bit. I do custom hay stacking and wheat straw production out here in Eastern Washington. So that's my main job, I guess, if you want to call it that. Yeah. But I'm hoping to slowly transition, obviously with the kid and everything, got to keep food on the table. So I'm gonna do both as much as I can and just try to support as well as I can. And I'm hoping to get to the point where I can just completely fish for a living. But like I said before, BAM, there really wasn't much of an opportunity on the West Coast to do that because we didn't have the media presence and the interaction that we do now, and it's only going to grow from here. I mean, this is our first month of having this tour, and it's already had such a positive, feedback from the fans and the public, and it's only going to grow from here. So that knowing I can, give my sponsors that, good grace of, look, this is like legit. Like there's
Right.
a lot of people are going to get influenced by this trail, and this is going to help me market myself along with you guys really well, that I don't need to go to the opens. I don't need to drive 45 hours back east to get
Right.
the influence that makes you guys money. It's just, there hasn't been an opportunity like that on the West Coast really ever.
And I was going to say, when you're talking about driving that far away, you can't take your sponsors with you necessarily, because what good does it do a sponsor in Washington to advertise in Florida unless they have like online presence or something? No one's doing that business. It's like it's
Yeah,
like you've almost
exactly.
lost it, But if you're, hey, we're going to be at the Columbia River, or we're right here. I'll be
Yeah.
advertising. I'll be
And
advertising for you within 14 hours. People will do business when they, in that.
yeah. And the good thing with that is now unless you're a service, like you're a marine
Right.
dealer or something like that, you have most of your business is more than likely going to be online. Like my title sponsor is Bass Boat Wired, which is based out of Azle, Texas. I made that connection while I was going to school in Texas. They're a boat electronics rigging company. They have a website. They have all kinds of stuff for bass boats, right, that they sell
Right.
online. And I'm actually able to, it's almost like better because it's like he's really established in Texas, right? Like everybody
Right.
knows Aaron's the guy to rig your boat. And if you need a graph or you need this, you need that, Aaron will hook you up. He's got the best stuff on the market, but he didn't really have any West Coast influence. So now and you call International, the rod company I'm working with, they're based out of Texas. We just launched at the Classic, and it's kind of the same thing. It's like all these all the OHIV guide hammers that catch these monster bass, they all kind of started this deal. And yeah, obviously in Texas, they're going to have a big draw pretty easily, pretty fast. But when you have a guy on the West Coast that has the influence, and you have an online shop and like I'm getting them in tackle stores out here and stuff like that, like that's it's good and bad, because
Right.
yeah, you're not in their backyard, but at the same time, you're helping them branch out. You're helping them get a bigger influence across the nation, not just based out of where they're at. So it's just finally we have a platform that we can do that, where we can really just be like, hey, like this is the trail that is going to help your company grow, and it's going to help your influence across the United States, not just wherever you're at, Texas, Florida, wherever. We can get West Coast people to be influenced by your brand and go to your website and look into you guys
Right.
across the nation. And when you can, and as a company, as a business, you see that and you see the potential behind that, and they're going to see the proof in the pudding as our TV shows with BAM come out and stuff like that, wow, this trail's legit, and this is really going to be important for us. And that's where we can start to really make a living out of it.
Absolutely. And that's one of the nice parts about being right here. And a lot of those companies, I mean, to say it as it is, but California is big, and they like California money. And Texas is big too. Don't get me wrong; it's one of those,
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people here in California. There's a lot of, Washington, Oregon, blah blah blah. It's the West Coast there's money here, and people want to be part of that market. And you being able to be here and having the exposure that you can get, and it's only going to get better with the more exposure that we get from you as anglers bringing those sponsors out. It's one of those things that it's just gonna keep getting bigger and better, and I hope that this allows for us to retain anglers, I guess, if that works, because I really have not liked watching the Skeet Reeses and the guys like that who grew up here on the West Coast, Cody Meyer and all those guys. It's like it's just really sad to see them go, when I know what they could do here on the West Coast. But I give them heck all the time whenever I see them. It's like, hey, oh, you're just not good enough to come back and fish West anymore. Fred Rumbanis is one of those guys. I don't know. I love to give him a bunch of guff on that. It's like, oh, you're just not good enough to come back and fish in the West. But
Yeah, but no, like hats off, like you kind of mentioned how hard it is to transition back and forth. Like hats off to guys like, Bryant Smith, he's
Oh
in the
yeah.
Elite Series and he's fishing our trails. Christian Ostrander does the opens and competes well. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like they go to the east and get their teeth kicked in. Ish Monroe, they go back and forth and they're competing, and like it's hard to switch gears like that. I mean, it's a whole different game. I mean, it's just amazing how my boat's tackle has changed from 6 months ago when I was in Texas to now.
Right. You put all, did you put all the 12-inch worms away?
Not all of them. No, I still got a couple of them lying around just in case one of these West Coast bass decide they want to get dumb. But, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's just so cool, man. Like I never had a dart head in my boat when I was fishing on Sam Rayburn, and I probably should have. Greg probably would have went down there and won the dang tournament if he was if he was fishing it on a dart head, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that translates.
It's not a dart head for Greg. It's the frenzy nail. I mean, we got to give him his little props right there.
No, and I tell him every time I see him at a tournament, I tell him, I'm like, Greg, like I have no affiliation with Frenzy Baits whatsoever. So this isn't trying to sell nothing to anybody listening. I tell Greg every time before blast off of a tournament and I see him for a second, I say, Greg, that nail you made, I don't know what it is. It doesn't look pretty, but it has gotten me out of more jams in a tournament. Right. I don't care if it's in Florida or Washington or California or South Carolina. It has gotten me out of more jams in a tournament where I did not know where the heck I was going to get a bite more times than any other bait that's in my arsenal. I mean, that thing is just special. And that's just the West Coast for you. Guys make special baits because these fish get pressured like crazy. They're used to light line. They're used to finesse tactics. The finesse deal's kind of really blowing up back east right now, but like these fish have been seeing it for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And you get special baits out of that when you have to compete with that pressured and just smart fish and smart anglers beating on them. And it's amazing. I just, like I said, I love bass fishing. So I love how it all goes.
No, absolutely. And that's, I love to see the passion. I love to see that guys go out there and do this. And again, and it's one of those, I love that there's a place for us to keep our young anglers, the Luke Johns out there, Ty right here, this is there. And there's so many, Asher Haynes out there. I mean, there's just some really quality young anglers coming up, and some of the college kids that are out there. And I was so surprised to see that the young, and I won't remember his name, but the young guy that won the Shasta event by himself. I think he was he Simpson College? I think he was somewhere else. But anyways, I can't remember. This is there's too many people in my head. But it's one of those things. It's like I watched him win that thing all by himself, and I go, wow, that is impressive. And he is going to be somebody in this sport in just a few more years. I mean, he already is now, but to come up, if he can make the Super 60 and get out there and start showing off what he can do, that's impressive to do that on Shasta and he had good weight, and it was a tough tournament. Shasta was not an easy tournament. So
yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's like, it's just so cool. Like how college has grown, the college deal has grown. I mean, it's still kind of struggling on the West Coast, but I think BAM's going to help that a lot. High schoolers out there, I know what Michael and Mark are trying to do is with their Pro-Am series and trying to get high schoolers into the Pro-Am events as amateurs. I'm urging you guys. I fished high school tournaments, and on the West Coast, I fished the 9 to 16 boat high school tournaments.
Right.
With a boat captain that would drive us around and say, throw there, twitch there, and set the hook, right? You're not going to learn that much from that. My biggest regret of high school is not signing up for some of those Pro-Ams as a co-angler. Just, you never know who you're going to draw. You're going to draw, you could get Ish Monroe one day and Ken Ma the next, or Greg Gutierrez one day and Brian Smith the next. And you are going to learn more from just watching them and also trying to catch fish behind them. You'll see how much of a vacuum cleaner these guys are and how precise and how just dialed they are in their systems and everything they do. You're going to learn more from fishing stuff like that. So I know they're trying to get that off the ground right now with BAM on the Pro-Ams. If any high school anglers are listening, go join a Pro-Am as an amateur. that is like, I would pay money to do it, whether there was a payout or not, looking back. Like it would have shortened the curve for me so much. I don't care what YouTube videos you watch, what mapping you look at, to watch the best of the best do it in their boat, no secrets. I mean, they are fishing, they're competing. You can learn so much. So I urge any high school angler. I know Mark and Bray are really pushing that hard right now. And I love that. I think that is awesome. And I hope that their college side of it kind of grows, because that's, another reason I left Simpson is, and MLF actually left the West Coast completely now. So the college deal kind of shut down, but like we were pulling 11 boats, whatever, and 16 boats, whatever it was in college tournaments. I was fishing when I was in Texas, fishing back east, I fished all over, but we were pulling 200 to 300 boats every weekend. I mean, we had Tuesday nighters that had 100 boats in them. And now that we have BAM pushing this well and having this good payout and this media presence, I think it's going to bring the college deal back to the West Coast, because like Tyler Madden finished third in our last tournament. He still goes to Auburn. I fished against him, the last couple of years when I was down at DBU. I was fishing for DBU. A lot of West Coast kids are leaving because they feel like the opportunity is better down there, especially on the college side of things. If we can start to bring that back and start it from the core, starting in high school and bringing it up, it's only going to get better for the industry, for the West Coast, for the fans, everything. It's going to keep the sport as competitive as possible on the West Coast. And I think BAM's going to make it happen. The future is bright for the West Coast. And I don't think anybody's been able to say that with a straight face for a long time.
We're going to take a short commercial break and talk to you about one of our great sponsors, StoreQuest Self-Storage. They're here to help you get your garage back. As an outdoor enthusiast, you have gear, lots of expensive gear, equipment, boats, trailers, and vehicles, probably all stored in your garage. You need a storage space that's easy to access, secure, and climate controlled. And that's where StoreQuest comes in. Head over to storequest.com. Plus, members receive an exclusive 10% discount with the offer code BAM10. That's BAM 10. StoreQuest is the official self-storage partner of the BAM Tournament Trail.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
Yeah, that's a great way to put that, to say it with a straight face, because, we go back to Florida and things like that for ICAST or different events, and there's been a buzz, about, what's going on out here, but it's never been a great, before people never really talked about what was truly out here. And now I feel like they're really starting to get on board and going, wait, there's something pretty special going on out there. We should turn our heads and look a little bit. And I think that, I guess a good question for, a young guy, you just said a bunch of this, let the high school kids go out and fish the pro-ams, go become, amateurs or the co-angler or whatever you want to call them, go do that and be a part of it and learn from some of the best. I mean, and there are guys that are still out there. I mean, the Chuck Cavaroses of the world, they're still out there behind these guys, watching them, and they love to be there. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing. And we have other guys that are now switching to the front of the boat. I mean, Chris Trumbull, who just went to the front, there are some Dante Ray who's out there, and he's going to go to the front of the boat. They're making their career out of the back, and then they're turning and going, okay, it's time to go forward, and let me try this whole thing, see what I can do. These guys are coming in with a wealth of knowledge. And to ask a young guy like yourself coming up in this sport, what do you see over here that because you can compare. You've seen the East Coast. You've seen those circuits. How do we get this out here to grow and be bigger like that? How do we get bass fishing to become a sport like that? I mean, I always give this one, analogy that I saw when the Bassmasters came out here. They were going out of they're going out of the Sacramento Delta area, out of Sacramento, and all the newscasters out here were talking about, oh, look at all the pretty boats on, the lights on their boats and all that stuff, and blah blah blah, and they sure do like those lights, and isn't that cool? And then you went back to the South, and they knew what college these guys went to. They knew exactly where they were in the standings. They had all of the knowledge. They understood exactly what they were dealing with. How do we get that out here? What do you see? Being a young guy coming up and going, this is what we need out here.
Well, the West is automatically behind the 8 ball a little bit because just on the fact that it's kind of similar to like rodeo compared to down there. It's as big as baseball, basketball. Every single person fishes in the South and back east. I mean, you drive down a suburb and there's a bass boat parked in every single driveway in the month of May, ready to go for the next day. I mean, they'd pull more boats in a Tuesday nighter than most pro-ams would up here, especially, like 5-10 years ago. So it's like, there's just so many more people that do it. It's so much more of a normal thing down there. And I think the West Coast is growing. I mean, Greg touched on it when you guys were talking about it in your podcast recently, that there was only, 2 boats in Red Bluff and now there's 25, whatever he was talking about. Right. It is slowly growing. It's just the West was so far behind. It's only going to get better from here. And like bass fishing wasn't really cool when I was in high school. Now all of a sudden you see all these kids, getting into it. But the biggest thing is when they do decide to get into it in the South, they have a place to go. They have an opportunity. Every high school has a club. Even almost every middle school has a club where they can go and they can learn. They have speakers. They have team meetings. They get, some free baits and stuff to go hit the pond with and learn. And when I went through high school, I went to Chihuahua High School in Pasco, Washington. We didn't have a high school bass fishing team. Nobody in Washington did. We signed up under our names. I mean, it didn't make sense. And then when we go to the national championship, there'd be these giant clubs of kids, 30 kids from one school. Wow. And they have, a coach and all this stuff, and they have programs, and they just have a better avenue right now. So like I said, Bama is going to be the core of what starts this. It's going to blow up. I'm telling you, I have faith in God that this is going to blow up because they just need somewhere to go. And like the Simpson Bass team is even though we like at Simpson, we had the worst, we got the odds stacked against us, but they're willing to send them, they'll pay to send them 40 hours away and do all that. But as we can just get BAM more established and get the youth in the sport more somewhere to go, I guess, there's plenty, there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of, 14 to 18-year-old kids excited about bass fishing that go hit ponds, they go fish in kayaks, they do all this stuff that want to get into it, but they don't know where to start. And in the South or the East, you can do that. I mean, you can't walk 5 minutes without hearing about a tournament or seeing about a tournament or high school club or whatever.
Right.
And with BAM coming up, wanting, urging these high school anglers to come in and doing the college side of things, it's gonna just, as it gets more known, it's just when they look for somewhere to go, they're going to find somewhere to go. And when they go there, it's going to be a great program and they can grow from there. But it's kind of one of those things. It's going to be a little slow to start. And then it's just word of mouth is the biggest thing. And it's just going to, might say, this guy's son, like that kid that's been doing really good in the BAM stuff for the high school. Then all of a sudden his cousin's a freshman and his cousin really likes bass fishing. Well, he gets that word of mouth like, oh, well, you can do this. It's a super cool opportunity. This and this, boom. Then that kid does it, and that kid's best friend fishes, and then next thing you know, they're high school tournament partners, and then they decide they want to start. Like Luke John started that whole high school fishing club in California at his old high school. Just stuff like that. It's just we have the nucleus, right? We have a nucleus of great anglers, great people, great community.
We're just 50 years behind.
Yeah, it's fixing to pop. I'm telling you.
Right.
And the economy doesn't help.
Everybody's got money. We're fine.
Yeah. When things hopefully, we'll see, but let's hope things turn around a little bit on the economy thing and it doesn't cost the same amount to buy eggs as it does to fill up your boat with gas. And
Yeah.
hopefully, you know, people have a little bit of throwing money around to where they can send their kid, you know, they can buy their kid a little tracker to go fish a high school tournament, or they can pay a boat captain, you know, $300 in gas for the weekend and take their kid out for a high school tournament. It's always been more expensive to fish on the West Coast too, which doesn't help.
Yep. I give you that one.
Because that sweeps, you know, that's why, you know, all those East Coast trails like MLF and Bass quit coming here, because people are complaining that it's so expensive to get down there and the cost of living and everything. And which honestly, that's probably not going to go anywhere. It's going to be pretty expensive. But if our economy can turn around a little bit and we can get more industry behind us with, you know, our social media presence and everything we got going on, and is it just slowly, I'm telling you, we've got the nucleus and it's in the microwave and it's ready to freaking blow. I'm telling you. I give it 10 years, give it 5 years and it's going to be established. Give it 10 years and it's going to be competitive with every other college trail, high school trail out there. I truly believe that. I truly believe in Mark and Bray's vision. I truly believe in your vision. I truly believe in the West Coast and what we have to offer. And I really think that it's finally got a place. We've all just been looking for a place to go to make it happen. And I think we finally got a platform to do that, because Mark took the giant risk that he did. And I can't applaud him enough for that. And I'm ready for it. I can't wait to see it. I love that I'm young enough to be able to be a part of it from the beginning till its fruition.
Well, I can tell you this right now. I love that you're young enough to appreciate it. I love that you're young enough to see it. And in 10 years, you'll still be young enough to appreciate what might be here. And dude, I don't know what you studied in college, but you have got it figured out when it comes to talking about this whole thing in this sport. And I know it's a lot just because you love the sport, but man, you're doing a great job out there. And everything you said, I love hearing it, man. It's absolutely well done, well said. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's all right here. It's like tangible now. It's like, let's reach out and get it, you know? I mean, gosh, it's there. It's there. And I really want to see.
It gets me fired up, dude.
I do. I really want to see this whole thing. I want to see it blow up. I want to see the West Coast. You know, I started off here fishing when I was, you know, young and I'm not young anymore, but it's one of those things that's like, you know, I want to see, you know, the whole dream was, you know, fish this, you know, and I fished the Federation so I could make it to the Classic and blah, 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 and did all the things I had to do, all the hoops I had to jump through, never quite made it to the Classic, but it was one of those things that was great to see. And now it's like, I would rather come here and fish BAM. If I was young, this is where I'd want to be. The only thing I want to see is, Mark, if you're listening, we still need a championship that has a dang name to it. We need to be going somewhere. There's Red Crest. There's Bassmaster Classic. We're on the West Coast. What do we call this thing? It's got to be something iconic. It's got to be something great. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's so much history and just legendariness, for lack of a better term, behind the Bassmasters Classic, right? So everybody dreams of getting there. Whether I fish BAM the rest of my life or not, you're always going to have that dream, you know. And it's like the Super Bowl of bass fishing, and they've been able to, and what Ray Scott did, the way he marketed it and his vision for it. But think about how that started. We're just, you know, like you said, pretty much 50 years behind. Mark's got that vision.
Oh, 100%.
And we just need things to fall in the right place. We need the fans to continue to come out to the events. We need fans to watch the events. We need them to engage. We need them to, when a guy's talking about, you know, I'm not affiliated with him, but you know, when Ken Ma talks about Fisherman's Warehouse, or one of these guys talks about Fisherman's Warehouse, and you happen to be in the area, go stop by and check them out. You know, that trust that we are putting people in the right direction in the industry. When I talk about Clear Lake Outdoors, you know, with Dave, go when you're in Lakeport, you know, about to launch your boat, and you're like, oh well, I need a couple more robo worms. Why don't you go drop in there because that guy from the Super 60 told you that it was a good place to go. You won't be disappointed. You know, these people in the industry that are representing the anglers have the same vision that we do, but it's just down to the consumer. As shallow as this sounds, it all comes back to money. It just does.
Oh, 100%.
And so if you're a fan listening to this, if you're a family member, supporter of the sport, whoever you might be, if you're a consumer of any sort in the bass fishing industry, as much, even just a repost, it costs $0 to repost something on social media, right? Repost
Exactly.
Bam stuff, repost my stuff, repost Ed stuff, repost Craig's stuff, just share it to your friends, watch the YouTube video, show it to your family, send the link over to your family group text, be like, hey, check this out. Remember this time we went houseboating on Lake Don Pedro? Well, here's, this one guy catching, this 13-pounder, and then this kid caught a few, and then this fireman from Red Bluff just kicked everybody's butt. Pretty cool, huh, guys? Just, there's so many ways. I'm just urging every consumer and every person that watches and loves the sport to just participate in it. Don't just watch it. Try to participate in it. Whether you have the money to spend or not to support the companies financially, you can always share something. You can always talk about it. You can always, hey, did you see Bam's most recent television show on Don Pedro? It's pretty cool. There's so many ways you can help the sport grow that don't have to do with money. That just that's where it starts. It starts with the fans and the engagement, and that's why the Bassmasters Classic, like you said, we need something like that where it's the pinnacle of the sport, is because there's not another tournament where you have to go into an arena and there's hundreds of thousands of people cheering for it.
Nope, not.
And that's
not
why everybody wants to get there.
Oh yeah, and and that's why I really feel like that's our next. I don't want to, maybe not our next step, but it is definitely the one that I think making something iconic out here on the West Coast that 100% takes that and gives these guys something to hunt for. I want to go to I want to fish the Pro-Ams. I want to fish the Pro-Am so that I can make the Super 60, so that I can make the Super 100 whenever it comes, so that I can be in the running to go to the Bassmaster Classic here on the West Coast, whatever they, our version, whatever gets named. And then I did that. I made that, and I won, whatever it is, $200,000, $500,000, whatever it is. And I took home the trophy, and now I have the title of Bam, whatever, and that's, I feel like that is the next step, that this whole thing out here on the West Coast is, if we can have something that these people, these young people, these, guys at your age, 22, 30s, that they can just hunt for. I got to make that. I got to be there. Because when I was younger coming up and doing this in this sport, that classic was what I wanted. I wanted that more than anything. I was like, dang, I want to make that. It didn't work out for me, and and blah, blah, blah. But, I want it to be here. I want guys to go, no. The classic is great, and that's a great thing. But you know what? This is number 3 in line, or this is number 2 in line, whatever it is, out here to be on the West Coast and to make that, and to make people like Brian Smith, to turn their head and go, West Coast looks good. It's looking real good.
Because exactly. Because it's not like Brian needed to do that. Brian didn't need to come here. He was making a plenty good living where he was at, I'm sure. I don't want to speak on that because I don't know, but he was winning, he was doing good, he's got great sponsors behind him, all that stuff. He was making it, he was living his dream out there. So it really speaks on what, between the media packet that Bam sent everybody and all this stuff, like the anglers know, like, the potential's here. Ish coming and and all these guys, it's gonna blow. And we're not lacking on quality of fishermen, I promise you. Like, these guys are stout. Like, our field is stout, and it's only going to get better as more guys, kind of notice what we're doing. And, I'll, like, Nathan Phillips is one of my best friends. I fished with him in college a little bit, and he's a hammer, right? Clear Lake kid. He fishes the one bass stuff, and he's already talking about, he's like, yeah, dude, I'm definitely going to fish the Pro-Ams next year. Cause like, this stuff is cool. Like, I like what you guys are doing. And as excited as I am for him to do that, I'm like, gosh, dang, I really don't want him to be, taking money out of my pocket. But you know what I mean? Like, it's only going to get more competitive from here. And we're right at the beginning. It's only up from here.
It's only
and the fact that we're able to be doing what we're doing right now as a launch, I guess, if you will, the potential's wide open. Like I said, we have the nucleus, and it's going to pop with Mark's vision. But like I said, it always comes back to the green things.
Yep.
I mean,
it's
we
money.
need Yeah, we need the fans behind us. We need people to engage. We need it to sell. That way we can get enough sponsors and the trail can have enough money to, rent out a giant Toyota center and put it
Absolutely.
on lake whatever in Arizona or Washington or California or Idaho or Oregon or Colorado, who cares where.
Right.
But we got to get to a point in the industry where we can afford to do that and capitalize off of it. It starts with the consumer. So if you're listening, just participate in what we're doing. Just follow along, share. Like if a tournament's, within driving distance of you, show up, cheer on, do your thing, watch the TV shows, go to every angler's social media page, follow them, share their stuff, share BAM stuff, and our BAM's got Bass Boat Technologies, Tackle Warehouse, look at those companies, and if you
100%.
like an individual angler, if you enjoy following what I'm doing, look at Bass Boat Wired, look at UCall International, look at Om Stomper, look at Clear Lake Outdoors, just support. That's all. It starts with the consumer. So I know I'm ranting on that pretty good, but
no, that's very, very important. I will tell you this, Ty. I have said it a million times. I would love to be standing on that stage, entertaining well over 1,000 people in the crowd. Right? I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
I'm happy with that. I love it when you guys come up. When I say, hey, let's bring up at a Pasco, Washington, Ty Manterola. I would love, love, love to hear that crowd just go crazy, and that's
you're
all
probably
that
going to get that in
takes.
Boardman because we're going to be close enough to home.
Hey, all that's going to take is a people showing up, man. That's all it takes.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's obviously convenient for, we're coming to Boardman this year. That's only about an hour from my house. And I've got a bunch of family around here. And I'm sure I'm going to have a big crowd there, just like Jake Arbuckle had a huge crowd at Don Pedro. But if we can get to the point where it's not just family, it's not just close friends, it's everybody that's a fan of the sport, a weekend warrior that loves bass fishing. If we can get to that point where we just have that influence on people and we get people fired up about it. And I think as people see the format that we're doing, we see how hard we're testing the anglers with no practice, no information, show up, figure it out, and catch bass better than the next guy.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And I really think it's going to blossom. And I'm just super excited for the future of this deal. And I'm just going to keep catching bass and giving it my all and leaving it up to the Lord and doing what I can to try to help the thing grow because I love it. I'm so excited for what's to come.
All right, Ty. Well, hey, this is the end of the show here. We've got about 2 minutes left here. But you know what? I've let everybody listen to Ty Manterola out there. And, they may know who you are, they may not, but give them a way to follow you, to see you, to track where you're at. Tell them a little bit about you, man. This is your whole deal.
Yeah, so I'm Ty Manterola. I love to bass fish. I love catching bass. I love meeting people. If you ever see me at a tournament or something, be sure to come up and say hi. You can follow all my socials, TikTok and Instagram or Ty_Manterola. I've never really had a Facebook, but my sponsors are telling me I probably should get one. So look me up, Ty Manterola on Facebook. I'm sure I'll be getting it added to a link tree and stuff here pretty soon. YouTube, my first YouTube video coming out of the Don Pedro event is getting edited right now. That'll be just Ty Manterola, just my name. Yeah, and just give me a follow if you ever have any questions. I also do graph tuning. So like if you need your live scope, active target, just side scan, stuff like that, any type of graph tuning, you're having trouble with your units or you want to get more dialed in, you want to learn more about them, anywhere in Eastern Washington, Eastern Oregon, I'll drive to you and I'll dial your stuff in. So yeah, you can hit me up on that and my Instagram DM. I'm happy to do that for anybody that's interested. If you happen to be a hay farmer listening to this about your but you need some hay stacked, give me a shout too. But yeah, no, I'm hoping that I'll be around for a long time and hopefully I can get a couple trophies like Greg's got and make a name for myself out here. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I really appreciate you guys having me on and I appreciate what BAM's doing. I appreciate my family supporting me. I appreciate all the sponsors that I mentioned earlier. They're awesome and I couldn't be doing it without any of them. And appreciate my beautiful girlfriend and our beautiful little girl for putting up with me, my little good luck charms. And yeah, we're gonna keep on keeping on and hopefully you'll be saying my name on the championship Sunday. more often than not here for the next few years.
Well, I hope so, man. I really like the way you've just created a fan right here, dude. I absolutely love a lot of the stuff you said right here. And Ty, this was awesome. And one of the things that I really took out of that too is that you come from a farming background, so you really understand what it's like to be poor. So making this money, coming out here and being a part of that. Farmers are not the richest way to go in life, but it is such a great way to go, and it builds the character that you have and the way you're going about it. And I just dude, I'm excited to see the next event now. Mojave,
Yeah.
here we come.
Yeah, as far as I will add on this, as far as the farming deal goes, I think more than anything, I mean, there's some farmers out there that are rich, there's some farmers out there that are poor, but I think what farming's taught me the most, and mainly, just what my dad's taught me working for him and, kind of coming up with him, is you get out of whatever you're doing what you put into it. And I think that's helped me a lot in my fishing. I think that I learned that farming and, watching him work so hard and him working me so hard, as a kid, and just understanding that everything comes to fruition after you put the work into it. You're not going to be given anything in life. And I think that's helped me a lot in fishing. And yeah, just wanted to touch that real quick.
Oh,
Shout
hey,
out to all
man.
my farmers.
Once again, said very eloquently and to the point, man. That's awesome. So, Ty, thank you very much for doing the show. I really appreciate it. Everybody out there, I'll tell you this again. If you did not get any information out of this, go back and listen to it again. Ty dropped some good stuff out there. So, everybody, thanks for tuning in. And in a couple weeks, we'll have another great angler just like Ty Manterola right there. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.